What's good, YouTube land? I'm Tiggle the Beagle. Today I want to start off this video by talking about terrible people, disturbing people, bastards to their core, people that not even their families love them type people. I'm talking about people like Adolf Hitler, Stalin, John Wayne Gacy, motherfucking Vlad the Impaler, absolute demons, monsters in human form. Now, a lot of these people are in contention for the worst person in the world. The wickedest person in the world, if you will. Now, none of them have claimed this title yet. But one man has claimed the title. One man has the nickname already, and he's had it for much longer than they have. A man who, despite not necessarily seeming as bad as the others, is just as bad as them. And far more insane than them. This man is one of the most disgusting people I have ever read up on. It has one of the most interesting lives I've read up on in a while. I present to you a documentary on Aleister Crowly, the Beast 666, aka the most wicked man in the world. Aleister Crowly is, to put it lightly, one of the most insane people to ever walk the earth. I heard his name mentioned in the video called The Darkest Batman Story Ever Written, Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth by Into the Depths, a decently small channel which should get more recognition in my opinion. Credits to him for the idea for this video. In the video he mentions Aleister Crowly being so crazy he deserves his own video. I decided I should see what the hype is about, and let's just say I wasn't disappointed. I'm not making this video to undermine his eventual video, as I personally think his production quality and even research will outclass my own. This is more about me also chronicling the batshit insane acts of Aleister Crowly, as I haven't seen many videos on the subject, which, honestly, this man is so interesting that he deserves to be known more for the wild shit he has done. For a simple teaser, he was known to practice sex magic, which makes pulling a rabbit out of a hat sound a lot worse than it should. However, I want to start at the beginning of his life, so we can get an idea of how he may have ended up this way. Aleister Crowly was born under the name Edward Alexander to his father Edward Crowly and his mother Emily Bertha Bishop on the 12th of December 1875. His mother often had a bad relationship with Aleister, giving him the nickname the Beast, which Aleister weirdly would come to enjoy. Edward Crowly was an evangelical Christian and was part of the Exclusive Brethren being a group of Christian fundamentalists. Because of this, he would often, during Aleister's youth, preach to him and his mother the Bible at breakfast every day. I believe this did spark some of Aleister's more religious-based problems in the future. We'll touch on those just in a bit. When Aleister turned 8 years old, though, he was sent to H.T. Harbison's Evangelical Christian Boarding School, and then to Eber Preparatory School in Cambridge. A quick fact to note is that this school in particular was run by Reverend Henry D'Arcy Champagny, whom Aleister Crowly considered a sadist. Once again, something else involving religion in his life early on, this time being outwardly negative. It may seem odd that I'm noting all this at this moment, but it'll become relevant soon enough. However, when Crowly was 11, he suffered a family tragedy. His father, whom he loved, describing as his hero and friend, died of tongue cancer. This was no doubt a turning point in Aleister Crowly's life, and may have helped speed up his descent into insanity. Because of this incident, he soon started misbehaving in school a lot more than he ever did before. However, then Crowly's family removed him from the school when he developed albuminuria. Albuminuria is a pathological condition where the protein albumin is abnormally present in the urine. The symptoms include swelling of the ankles, hands, belly, or face. He reportedly despised his new school, Malvern College, and he left after just a few terms. During this time, he would become increasingly more spiteful towards his religion, Christianity, and will constantly point out inconsistencies to his religious teachers. He would also partake in behaviors considered sinful, such as smoking, masturbation, and having sex with prostitutes, from which he eventually contracted gonorrhea. He then went to Eastbourne College, where he studied chemistry and developed interests in chess, poetry, and mountain climbing. In 1985, he then went to another school called Trinity College, Cambridge, to study philosophy, then changing to English literature. At this time, Aleister embraced his love of poetry and literature. And around this time, Crowley also officially changed his name to Aleister. He made a statement on why he changed his name. It goes as follows. For many years, I had loathed being called a lick, partly because of the unpleasant sound and sight of the word, partly because it was the name by which my mother called me. Edward did not seem to suit me, and the diminutives Ted or Ned were even less appropriate. Alexander was too long, and Sandy suggested tow hair and freckles. I had read in some book or other that the most favorable name for becoming famous was one consisting of a dactyl followed by a spondy, as at the end of a hexameter, like Jeremy Taylor. Aleister Crowly filled these conditions, and Aleister is the Gaelic form of Alexander. To adopt it would satisfy my romantic ideals. Certainly became famous, didn't he? Soon after this, Aleister had his first encounter with the mystical. This was believed by many a result of having gay sex. No, that's not a joke. Gay sex made him a wizard. This actually caused Aleister to realize he was bisexual, good for him, and would lead to him constantly having sexual relations with prostitutes, both male and female. In 1897, he went to Russia, where he contracted an illness, causing him to ponder on the morality of humans and the, quote, futility of all human endeavor, and Aleister abandoned his plans for a diplomatic career to instead pursue the occult. In 1998, Aleister was introduced to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a cult which had become founded in 1888. Crowley was then initiated into the Outer Order of the Golden Dawn on the 18th of November 1998, where Crowley then took up the name Frater Perdurabo and the motto, I shall endure till the end. Crowley did not stay too long in this group, as he eventually created his own cult known as Thelema. On the 8th of April, Aleister claimed to hear a voice claiming to be Awais, the messenger of Horus. Crowley stated that he wrote down everything this voice told him over the next 3 days, and named these writings in the Liber al-Velagi, or the Book of Law. This text claimed that humanity as we know it was entering a new eon, and that Aleister would serve as its prophet. It stated that a supreme moral law was to be introduced in this eon. This now famous law reads as follows: Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. So yeah, like I said earlier, this guy's batshit fucking insane. In 1909, he claimed to once again be contacted by this voice, stated that it gave him 2 other books of so-called knowledge, which he named the Liber 7 and the Liber Cordi Cinti Serpente. I'm sorry if these names are butchered, but a crazy man wrote them, so I'm going to pronounce them like I'm crazy. He then made many more holy books, including but not limited to Liber Elex V1, I'm not reading those numerals, Liber Acronorum, Liber Portaluci, Sub Figura 10, Liber Tau, Liber Tregmatin, and Liber DCCCX111, I'm not reading that, Vel Aritia, which he again said were given to him by a disembodied voice, because of course they were. He then, after a while of actually denying the books, he finally accepted them as what he states is objective truth. Eventually founded an occult under these Thelemic beliefs, naming it AA. However the fuck you pronounce that. What is with this guy and unpronounceable words? The cult was founded on the basis of human perfection via mystical and magical ways. One of these magical things he did was known as sex magic. As you can tell, sex magic is just having sex, but with magic involved. Simple concept. It's probably one of the most weird, but also fucking nonsense and batshit insane things I've ever read up on. And yes, I did stay up till 12 in the morning reading about sex magic. Why do you ask? But I implore you to read up on it, because it's just fucking mind-blowing, some of the shit that went down. One example is Oroto Comptos Lucidity. This sex magic was used to, quote, place the individual in a state between full sleep and full weakness as well as exhaustion, allowing the practitioner to communicate with their god. So railing someone can release them from their mortal coil now. Which, we'll take that as you will. Aleister would also groom certain people if he thought they had, quote, great potential for magic. One of these people was Victor Neubohr. Victor was described by Aleister as follows, and all the rest of the following text within this video may be disturbing for some viewers, so this is your time to click off if you get sensitive through sex stuff. He was an agnostic, a vegetarian, a mystic, a Tolstoyan, and several other things all at once. He endeavored to express his spiritual state by wearing the green star of Esperanto. Though he could not speak the language, by refusing to wear a hat, even in London, to wash and to wear trousers, whenever addressed, he wriggled compulsively in his lips, which were 3 times too large for him, and he could put on hastily as an afterthought, emitted the most extraordinary laugh that had ever come by way. To these advantages he united those of being extraordinarily well-read, overflowing with exquisity, subtle humor, and being one of the best-natured people that have ever trod this planet. Aleister would often convene in sex magic with Victor by grooming him intensely. This was to apparently overcome Aleister's shortcomings, and also to use the semen plunged into his anus to form a magnetic chain between the 2 men. Another thing he did with Victor was when they both put themselves in a desert inside a magical circle the men created inscribed with the names of many gods. A triangle was placed within, in which Aleister sacrificed 3 pigeons. This was all in an attempt to summon a demon. He did demon summoning rituals many times, many of them involved his so-called sex magic. Another disciple he had was named Karl Germer. He told Karl that he defined magic as getting into communication with individuals who exist on a higher plane than ours. Mysticism is raising of oneself to their level. Aleister would also describe magic in his book Magic in Theory and Practice, in which he stated it was the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. He also had the belief that magic was the third in the trifecta of science and religion, believing it to be as important and true as both those things. In the Book of Law, Aleister wrote about what he believed the gods were. He wrote about 3 gods that all other existing gods were based off of. These were the Egyptian gods Nuit, Hadit, and Ra-For-Hui. Aleister would worship these gods through magic and also a special type of Eucharist, also known as the Lord's Supper. This involved consuming sexual fluids such as semen or vaginal fluids of all types, including blood. This often included cakes of light, which were biscuits filled with menstrual blood, semen, and or vaginal fluids. Interestingly, if we look at all of this, it all involves 3s. 3 principles in science, magic, and religion, 3 gods, and triangular imagery was used consistently throughout his religion. He described himself as the B666, which once again, another series of 3s, mirroring the name Mother gave him all those years ago. It's interesting to look at Aleister's story and see what went wrong. In my opinion, it definitely had a little bit to do with not only his father's death, but also his mother's hatred, and also his religious upbringing. He was forced to constantly hear the teachings of Christianity, and that eventually made him start to hate it and lash out and believe something else, something much, much worse. Think about it like this. Reading is actually great fun. It's just as addicting as anything else in life. It's just as addicting as sugar at times. However, when in school we are forced to read and forced to look at things we don't want to, or even if we would want to do it, we don't want to do it because we're forced to do it, we start to hate reading. And it's only when we do it in our free time that we actually start to like it. If someone is not given the freedom to decide to do something, they will quickly grow tired of it. And I think that's something important to take away from Aleister Crowley's story. That's all I have to say about the man known as Aleister Crowley, also called the wickedest man on the world. I could go deeper into his life, but I do not wish to make a 2-hour video. I wish to just make the cliff notes of his life, and also talk about the most basic of his occult life, and his grooming life on LinkedIn. I hate having to read this shit. But please make sure this gets a lot of views. This is really disgusting to research. I highly suggest reading up on the man, though. His life is fascinating, and is a really good read for anyone who wants to make a nice little video or a book of some kind. I just simply like making smaller videos. Also, I'm finished writing the script at 1 in the morning, so I'm kinda goddamn tired. I shall see you all another time. Bye-bye.